Top Gun Maverick. This is the final movie, the last movie to be released that was shot before the pandemic and that's coming out after the pandemic, or at least while we're in the tail end of the pandemic. The movie has been postponed like 3 times. It's finally out. I got to see it today. And before I go any further, this is my non-spoiler review for the film. I want to tell you that when it comes to the Top Gun movies, there's only been 2 of them, of course. The original Top Gun from back in 1986 and this one. Top Gun has a special place in my heart because I grew up watching this movie. My older brother and I would watch Top Gun because he introduced me to Top Gun when I was a little kid, like maybe 3, maybe 4 years old. I think I was 4. And I have seen this movie. I have grown up with this movie. I have loved Top Gun. I've shown it to all my friends, everybody I've ever dated. Top Gun is like a really important movie for me. And it's kind of sad because, you know, my brother passed away in 2018, and he never got to see, he never even knew that they were going to even make this movie. Even though there were rumors for a long time, and he never got to see it. He's gone now, and it's really sad because as I'm watching the film, I'm thinking about my brother and thinking about like how he would have loved to have seen this film. So going into it, though, I was a little bit, you know, kind of a little cautious because when you do a sequel to a movie over 30 years old, it's really tricky. I mean, look what happened with Independence Day 2. You know, like there's sequels to old movies that can be really tough to do, and they don't always hit the mark. You know, do you always follow nostalgia, or do you go with like a new generation? And how do you pay respect to the old characters while still introducing new characters? And it's always kind of been that issue. You know, we have Ghostbusters Afterlife, we have the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. You know, when you pick up from a franchise that's like beloved, which Top Gun wasn't really a franchise, it was just maybe a small franchise, it was just one movie, even though there was video games. But this is the sequel. Long time coming. And unfortunately, Tony Scott passed away before he could do this film. Tony Scott directed the first movie, and he, you know, was it's a legendary director. This movie's directed by Joseph Kosinski. And basically, you know, the premise of the film is Maverick, a.k.a. Pete Mitchell, played by Tom Cruise, once again reprising the role, is back to teach a new class of hotshot pilots to prepare them for a very dangerous suicide mission that they need to have the absolute top training to become. And of course, it's one of those things where, you know, if you remember the first film, there's so many classic lines in that movie. There's so many classic moments, classic soundtrack. And from the very beginning, when you see this movie, if you love the first one, you're in. You just the beginning of this film mirrors the first film, and then we pick up in present day and, you know, sort of what's been going on. We find out where Maverick's been and where he's going. You know, the movie kind of tells 2 stories here. It tells sort of how technology is changing the way that we view the military, because, you know, the world is kind of changing into doing these unmanned drone kind of weapon attacks. You know, that's how the military is we're kind of going in that direction in real life. And the fact that robotics are changing the world as we speak, it's changing the way that jobs are. Jobs that were around 30 years ago don't exist. Same thing goes with fighter pilots. Because of the fact that everything now is becoming droid-based or drone-based, you know, people like Maverick, like they said in the trailer, are becoming an endangered species. But for this movie, you've got to have manned aircraft to complete this mission because it's way too dangerous for a computer to compute and way too risky as well. And boy, let me tell you, this movie definitely, the mission was definitely dangerous. There's no question about it. There's a few surprises from the first movie, but I would have to say that the biggest surprise that's new would be Miles Teller playing Bradley Rooster Bradshaw, who, well, I mean, it shouldn't surprise us to who that character is. His name's Rooster. Who's he related to? And there's a whole story there, because the second main story of the movie is not just Maverick dealing with the ghosts of his past, which is where his character comes in, but also Maverick dealing with the fact that the military is changing and he's older now, and it sort of becomes like the grizzled veteran trying to teach these young guys how to, get along and work together. And that's where it mirrors sort of what he went through in the first movie. Now, there's a few things you should be aware of when it comes to this movie. First and foremost, the movie is definitely family friendly without question. More family friendly than the first movie, but that doesn't mean it's not filled with drama, action, and excitement. This movie is very tense. When you get to the latter half of the movie, there's really a lot of tension there, and you feel it. Also, what blows my mind about this film is that most of it was not done in CGI. They used real cameras, IMAX 6K cameras, to shoot some of the aerial scenes, and the planes are all real planes flown by real people. This was shot like how the first movie was shot, and that is mind-blowing that in an era that we live in now, in this era of CGI and how computer effects are getting better and better and better, they still chose to go the practical way and use real planes for this. And that was just mind-blowing. And everything in the movie looks real. It feels real. It jumps right at you. You can tell that they're really flying, and that really adds a layer of realism to the film. It really adds that layer of reality, man. We haven't gotten to the point where computers can perfectly simulate reality. We're close. We're getting there. We're on our way. But man, with this film, you can definitely tell the difference. Also, I think that Tom Cruise is absolutely outstanding in this movie. I thought he was really outstanding. He's an extremely likable character, but also one that you understand still has that rebel inside of him, and you root for him. You genuinely want Maverick to succeed along with his team in this movie. He's not in any way a character that's unlikable, which I think some people might think they would go in that direction, like what they did with Luke Skywalker in Last Jedi. No, this is still Maverick. He still has his belief systems. He's still a rebel, but he does it for the right reasons. He's still a good man at heart. Jennifer Connelly plays Penny Benjamin, who's actually the Admiral's daughter that was referenced in the first movie. I didn't pick up on this till I thought about it more, but she is the love interest of Maverick in this film, which actually was his love interest before he even met Charlie in the first movie. And that kind of brought things around full circle. It's a new love interest for Maverick, but it does play up something that happened in the past with them, and there's, it's not like it's a new girl. It's new for the audience, but in Maverick's lifetime, he's obviously known her, and they've been through a lot of different things together. On top of that, you've got Glenn Powell playing Hangman, who, without going into spoilers, he's kind of like the Iceman of this movie, the hotshot, overconfident pilot, but he does end up, having an arc himself. It wasn't really focused on too much because the movie's not really about him. The movie is about Maverick. Not just Maverick, but also Rooster, but really the film is primarily about Maverick, and everybody, all the characters kind of go around him, but it does pay respects to the original. But it doesn't overdo it. They did not overdo. One thing I liked about this movie is it did not overdo the nostalgia. It wasn't like constant nostalgia over and over and over again. Nostalgia berries for everybody to chew on. That's not what this movie was. It was a legitimate sequel, a legitimate continuation to the previous film, to where all the characters in it, it all made sense. It all felt the same, and also the missions they went on were different than the ones in the first movie. They were very different. The dogfight at the end of the first film is a classic, right? Here, it's very different what happens at the end of the movie, but it's not bad. It's sort of like a logical sequel to where they said, okay, how can we have a great action sequence and have it not quite be like the first film? That's what they did here with some cool surprises too. A lot of surprises in a good way. Really fun movie. Very alpha film. I loved it. I will be doing a spoiler review this weekend for this film, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.